Hi, Thiago.
Hi Frank, glad to be here.
Honestly, I'm so glad to be with you, because and I've seen your. We've been in touch for a long time, and I've seen your face, through the journey of the Madeleine, the Freedom Flotilla, and this was so powerful. Like I think a lot of us around the world just wanted to hug you guys, to be with you guys, and so even if I can't hug you, just having you with me online is just amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother. It's an honor to be here with you. You do such an important work, and the flotilla is one of many important actions that we do. So yes, we felt the kindness and the care of everyone when we were on the boat, when we were in jail as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
we want to hug all of you as well. Very happy to be with you.
So in a way, I wanted to start. I know you've told the story like many times, but I wanted to start with the latest journey of the flotilla, which was the Madeleine. A lot of people, followed you on social media and followed obviously the others on the boat. Greta and Rima and Marco and the rest. Um, did you have time? It's been like I can't remember, a few weeks now, but did you have time to reflect on this journey and what it meant to you personally? But I know obviously it's not about you personally, it's more about the movement and Gaza. Did you have time to sort of reflect? What did you sort of take out of it? What did you think it achieved or didn't?
Yes, in the end, Frank, things were too busy because we were preparing for so long for this mission. Since the flotilla, like I said, exists for 17 years because the illegal siege of Gaza exists for 18 years. But this mission specifically, we've been trying to pull that out since the escalation of genocide 21 months ago. And we failed so many times through bureaucratic warfare, to technical problems. Israel bombed our boat around 2 months ago when we were in Malta. So this mission we've been, at least for the last 3 months before the Madeline set sail, we were so focused on that, so that after the mission ended and we went to our home countries after imprisonment and all that what happened, we had all of our lives that we we it was crazy hectic things to do that for so many months fully dedicated to the mission. So most of us when we got back we didn't have time still, not even to catch up with the things that were delayed from months ago, and all the new responsibilities and all the new necessities that we have. So what we saw when even when we were on the boat, we could see that things were growing in a way that we were really hopeful that it would, but we were never sure that it would be like that. So when we saw things growing like that, we saw, look, this is something big that's going on. It's really reaching places that we didn't expect. It's really helping to mobilize the demonstrations in the streets. It was really bringing hope and bringing more sense to people in Gaza when we saw people watching our videos on TV in a shelter, writing our names on the sand. So we saw that things were really growing, but we didn't knew how much. And when we got back to our home countries and we saw the huge mobilization, that the streets were full again on demonstrations, we saw that not only the flotilla, of course, but also the Global March to Gaza, the Sumut Convoy, all the demonstrations, all the boycotting, all the disrupting of armed factories, all of that together created a new momentum on this global uprising. So it was beautiful to see. To be honest, I didn't have the time to catch up on everything. Still today, I see a video that someone made when we were in prison. I said, "Oh, that was so nice." Until today, I see that. Until today, I received death threats that I didn't have time to access before. So I'm seeing death threats too late. So it's kind of crazy right now because of the size that things got. But I'm actually very happy that we managed to. We did the best with the resources we had, and we were accompanied by a huge global uprising mobilization that really made this as big as it could.
So so in regards to the flotilla, this was, I guess, yeah. My question is like, why did you want to show or say to the world with the flotilla? What was the main message? Because I'm sure you've seen it. The mainstream media, some obviously right-wing commentators were trying to say, look, they've got like, 2 bags of flour, what are they doing and stuff? But obviously the message was much more than that, right? So what was the real like message of behind the flotilla?
That's amazing, Frank, because the flotilla is in the midst of the greatest battle of our generation against imperialism, against Zionism. So of course this will be impact as well. So our main message is that there's an illegal siege of 18 years over Gaza. There's a genocide going on, and all aid is blocked. And the only thing that they call aid are death traps inside Gaza right now. So we needed to break the siege and create a humanitarian corridor that is not depending on the occupying force. So that's pretty much what we were there to do. That should be the work of governments, of international organizations. The 12 of us were not the ones who signed the Geneva Convention on behalf of our countries. We didn't sign the Statute of Rome, the UN Convention for the repression of the crime of genocide or the crime of apartheid. We didn't do any of this. So just like the people at the demonstrations were not the ones who signed that as well. So the people of the world are pressuring the nation states to not only stop being complicit, but also to stop the genocide, because it's their responsibility as well. So that was the main message. And of course, the Zionist entity spent 17 years saying that the flotilla mission was Hamas terrorists carrying weapons to attack Israel. And some of the years, they had such a monopoly over communication that they managed to pull this off in many places. But now things have changed. For 21 months, due to the historical bravery of the people, the Palestinian people in Gaza, who broke the media blockade, who broke the boycott of the big techs on social media, they managed to make the truth pass. And so also the Zionist entity was exposed for their lies, and also about this mission. So imagine that 2 months ago, they were saying the same thing that they said for 17 years about our other boat, the Conscience. They said the same thing. Hamas terrorists carrying weapons to attack Israel. After they bombed the boat, the Maltese government made an inspection on the boat, and of course, they only found humanitarian aid. But this time, the mobilization was so big and the message was so powerful that they could not pull that up.
Yeah.
So when we were on the Conscience boat and Israel bombed our boats, they said same thing, that it was Hamas terrorists carrying weapons to attack Israel. And then when the Maltese government inspected the boat, what did they find? Of course, humanitarian aid. This time, this message was so powerful, Frank, that they didn't even manage to try to pull that up. That was Hamas terrorists carrying weapons to attack Israel. So they changed their strategy, and they changed into saying that was a selfie boat, people who were trying to show off and stuff. But in fact, this mission, this non-violent direct action humanitarian mission, had the necessity to bring visibility, but not to us, of course. It was to the Palestinian cause, to the Palestinian people. So whenever people would say, oh, you're so brave, it's such a high-risk mission, we'll say, look, it is a high-risk mission, and it demands courage to do it. But it's but a small fraction of the risk and the courage that the Palestinian people go through every single day, surviving 8 decades of genocide and ethnic cleansing and a colonial apartheid state, and being ruled by this racist and supremacist ideology, which is Zionism. So we would always say that when they say, you're doing this just to bring a small portion of food, we'll say, no, the problem is that Gaza has been under siege by sea, land, and air for 18 years. And for 21 months, the escalation of genocide broke all the humanitarian ways into Gaza. And for 4 months, not even a single bag of flour, a single bag of rice, or a single bottle of water would enter through real aid distribution process. So that's what we were trying to expose. That even when we got arrested and they said, oh, they're doing this to show off, they didn't sign the confession of their crime to enter Israel illegally, and the deportation documents, and to show off and stuff, and would say, no, we didn't sign because we didn't want to confess a crime we didn't commit. And of course, even when we were in prison, we did not want to talk about us. We didn't want to make this about us. We would always say there are 10,000 Palestinians in Israeli dungeons, almost 400 of them are children, and we need to stop that. So we were always bringing the visibility that this mission can bring, but channeling it to where it needs to be, which is that the Palestinian people. This mission didn't even have to exist if it was not for this complete violation and the failure of governments.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crucial to emphasize on this, the failure of governments, because it's really easy for them to hide behind, look, there's a 18 years old blockade. Israel is not letting any aid in for 4 months. What can we do about it? Of course, there's loads they can do about it. I was telling friends, what about if France sends the Charles de Gaulle, which is one of the biggest army boat, full of like tons of food? What is Israel
Yes.
going to do? So in a way, you show the world, and that's what the best about civil disobedience, right? Because
Yes.
sometimes the people need to show the way because the governments obviously are not doing it. But I wanted to ask you about just a short technical question. Do you know what's happening with the Madeleine? What's up with the boat? Are you going to get it back? Are they going to destroy it? Are they going to sell it? What's
You know, Frank, this is the boat number 36 that we try to reach Gaza, and only the first 5 flotilla missions in 2008 actually made to Gaza. You know this very well because you were supporting this since the start. But in the end, they stole more than 30 boats of the Freedom Flotilla coalition. And what's happening with the Madeleine right now is that they are stealing a boat, they're stealing humanitarian aid, and they are violating International Court of Justice provisional rulings that prohibited Israel from hindering any type of humanitarian mission to Gaza. So they're violating international law. They are stealing at plain sight for the whole world to see. And to be honest, we will of course try to bring the boat back. We did that even when we were in our court hearing, when we were arrested, illegally arrested and kidnapped by Israel. But to be honest, they really don't care. They violate so many international laws. They are a rogue state. So we try, but we are not very hopeful. We keep on mobilizing and demanding accountability and justice for that.
yeah? And what are the next steps? Because I know the flotillas are in a way you won't stop until this is over, and like all of us, depending on what we do, we will not stop until whatever Palestine is free and Palestine sees justice and peace. So do you have any news? Is there any boats coming up or?
Yes. I'm glad you asked that, Frank, because in the end, if the Palestinian do not stop, how can we stop? How can we just start watching this genocide or be silent? And with the complicity and the aggression that the nation states do against their own people. Because the thing is that the Palestinian people, they gave the humanity, the lenses to see the world as it really is and expose their lies. So the global north countries that will talk about democracy, about human rights, they've shown what a cruel dictatorship they are when we go against their consensus, their neoliberal imperialist consensus. So it's amazing to see how much this youth now is awake to do more. And if the Palestinian people does not stop, I'm pretty sure that millions of people in the world will not stop. In a world of 8 billion people right now, I'm pretty sure we have a social majority of the vast majority of humanity knows that starving children to death is wrong, bombing hospitals, shelters, schools, residential areas, it's simply wrong. But people most of the time don't know the means to do something. But there are millions who are trying their best in many different tactics to do whatever they can. So the Freedom Flotilla has a duty with this global uprising, with Palestinian solidarity. We cannot stop and we won't stop. So we are always looking for boats, whatever size, whatever resource we have, we always keep on looking for them. And right now we have a boat called the Handala, and we will sail very, very soon. I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but if people go to Gaza Freedom Flotilla page, very soon we put an announcement of the next sailing time. And there are more mobilizations coming up, and we want a mobilization still this sailing season with many, many boats. So things are growing. If Israel thought that they could block us through violence and commit this war crime, this crime against international rule of the sea, this crime against International Court of Justice provisional rulings, and that would just stay silent and that will be deterred. They are very, very wrong. Right now, we have the people talk so much about the risks, and before going, the Zionist media was saying it's a suicide mission, and then they moved into the selfie boat and stuff. But if they thought they would scare us by doing that, what happens now is that we have tens of thousands of people who want to join an next flotilla. And we have people all around the world that understand that this tactic is necessary. It's part of a whole constellation of tactics that people are doing, boycotting, going to demonstrations, disrupting arm factories, breaking the media blockade, like you, producing real information to bring political education to people, to know this is part of a process. This is not something that just showed up in history, but also part of a development of this system that exploits, oppresses, destroys nature, in Palestine, but everywhere else. So we are mobilized. We have a new mission soon, and I can't wait for us to try to break the siege again. And I'm pretty sure, Frank, if they think that they can block us through violence, we always said, and even when we were hours away from being intercepted, I would always say, we do not fear them because all they have is their violence, their hate, their weapons, and their bombs. But the people of the world, we have all the rest. We have the history of anti-colonial struggle that shows that the people are united and dedicated to freedom. They are unstoppable. They cannot be beaten. So I'm pretty sure that Palestine will be free through the works of the Palestinian, the heroic Palestinian people, and we will be part of the international support of that, which will always be the step to make the whole world free. So I'm very, very enthusiastic about it because I know that if they block one boat, right now when we have the next boat or the very next boats, eventually this wave will be so big that they will not be able to stop. And then it will be like the apartheid in South Africa that collapsed. And they will be like Nazism and fascism and all other hateful ideology of other times that collapsed through the works of the people in the world. So right now it's our historical generation to defeat Zionism, to defeat imperialism, and we're doing our best. Like a lot of little ends everywhere trying to do their best. I'm pretty sure we'll make it.
Yeah, I love that, Thiago, so much. And I think, some people can be very depressed and down when they see what's happening in Gaza, and that's totally normal. But for the Palestinians and for us all as human civilization, we just have to keep going. I think there's no other choice. And what you've said is very important. I think what Israel and the genocide in Gaza has created over the last 20 months is obviously the horrors we're seeing in Gaza. But what's happened now is that Palestine has become, for many, many, many millions around the world, the center to their activism and the center to the political campaigns they're on, the social justice campaign. And this is not going to change despite the mainstream media, spewing its propaganda. This is not going to change. Palestine has become the center, and it's crucial. And I wanted to ask you briefly as well, actually, about your journey to Palestine. How and when did you become aware that Palestine was an issue that we needed to look at?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Frank. I'm 38 years old. I'm a Brazilian social environmentalist, communicator, and internationalist. But I was 18 years old. So 20 years ago, I was so frustrated. I had the same shock that I see people having for the last almost 2 years. That, but like looking at the world and seeing what is going on with this system, what is going on with the nations, what about international law? None of that applies. How come Israel and United States are doing such a thing? So by then, United States was destroying Iraq, invaded Iraq based in a lie of weapons of mass destruction in 2003. It was on the way of killing a million civilians in that country throughout the years. So I was so frustrated about it. And I would see by then George W. Bush and Ehud Olmert, the prime minister of Israel by then, and Tony Blair and all those process of imperialist process going on so heavily, and I would get very frustrated. And then I started to mobilize for Palestine 20 years ago when I saw the occupation. They call it I speak Portuguese in Brazil, so I'm always trying to find the words in English that come. But there's this plan from Ariel Sharon in 2005 to reallocate the colonies that were in Gaza since 1967 when they occupied the entirety of historical Palestine. So they were removing the colonies, the Zionist colonies from inside Gaza, and I could not understand very well why. But then I started to study, and by then I was seeing in real lifetime that they were creating the conditions to put a total siege in Gaza. Then 2007 was complete. So I started mobilizing because in 2006 Israel escalated the genocide very hard, tried to invade Lebanon again. So I got in touch with some movements. In 2010, I heard internet was very different by then, but I heard through some leftist news channels and stuff that they were mobilizing a flotilla of boats to break the siege. And I applied to that by mail. I was 23 years old by then. And then people said, yeah, you can come. But there's this thing, you have to pay for your ticket. And then it destroyed for me because a 22-year-old Brazilian from the global south was so expensive. It still is so expensive to go. So I didn't manage to go. And this mission, the Flotilla mission 2010, you know very well, was attacked 15 years ago. They killed 10 of our participants. So I got so frustrated in that, and I got in touch with more solidarity movements through this. And in Brazil as well, producing free information, doing political education in our social movements in indigenous territories in Brazil to connect the indigenous struggle of Brazil to the indigenous struggle of Palestine as well. So throughout the years, I try to do my best for the Palestinian solidarity movement. I've been to Palestine only many, many years later in 2019. And then I saw that it was way worse than all that I have ever studied, all that I've ever produced. To see the apartheid state from with my own eyes was so life-changing and so tough to
Same
see,
for
Frank.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly the same realization. Yeah.
Yes, it was so tough, man. And then I only got more and more and more involved. And when the escalation of genocide happened in October 2023, I said, look, now is the opportunity of a lifetime for us to show the other way, because now we have the social media. Well, now have ways to break this media blockade. And yeah, due to the courage of the Palestinian people in Gaza, we did it. So I've been through all the neighboring countries. I've been to the occupied Palestine in the West Bank and the territories occupied in 1948. And I tried to enter Gaza through all directions, literally. I tried to enter in November 2023 from Rafah, got blocked just like the Global March to Gaza. I tried to enter by sea with the flotilla. This is my fourth mission, now going to the fifth mission. And then, yeah, I tried to enter even from historical Palestine as well, and was not allowed to get in. So, but I'll keep on trying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we need, again, we have no other choice because, like, we're seeing all around the world these really fascistic, it's not even movements, it's like governments. So, with an incredible amount of power. And we've always said, from day one, what's happening in Palestine, we're seeing sort of the reproduction of the occupation and its tools in our streets now. 10 years ago in France, you didn't have like military police in the streets, but you have now, during the Black Lives Matter movement, you were seeing what's happening in Palestine for years being reproduced. And I think sometimes, you think the more you are criticized, the more you are attacked, the more you are repressed by governments, means you must be doing something very good. So I think that's what's happening as well. So I wanted to end with a question about Brazil and South America, Latin America, because here we are very Euro-centered. We're not really aware of what's happening. How do you feel the movement is evolving in Brazil? Because you know Brazil most. Obviously, you were under you're on Donald Trump, who is like Bolsonaro only a few years ago. Now it's a different president. From the outside, he looks like he's much better anyway. So what's the movement in Brazil? Do you feel it growing as well?
We are living a very tough thing in Brazil and Latin America right now, Frank, because we live in a system, the capitalist system, with its neoliberal economic practices, but also its imperialistic stage of development that try to strangle Latin America, try to colonize Latin America, at the same time try to create manufacturer consent that through this bourgeois ideology that you need to be the American way of life, to fulfill this dream of consumption, of competition, and so much stuff. And this takes a toll into the mentality and the common sense of our population. And we do our best, but we still live through a system that exploits, oppresses, and destroys nature, even in Brazil. So for 20 years, we've been fighting in the cities, in the country, in the indigenous territories, in the forest. And it's very, very tough to fight where we live. In the global south in general is much, much tougher things to fight. So we lost so many friends, so many indigenous leaders, so many campesino leaders, so many environmentalists. Brazil is always disputing with Colombia and the Philippines, the places who kill the most environmentalists in the world every single year. So it's very hard to do what we do. And we still keep on trying. So we do now have a lesser evil because Bolsonaro, nothing compares to the far right. So we had many, many, many decades of a liberal right in Brazil after the dictatorship ended. And then we have a popular mandate from the Workers' Party from Lula and then Dilma, but was interrupted by a coup. and then a far-right governments. And then we are now regaining this stage of a workers' party mandate, but it still does not have the same social strength as before. Also conciliates more. So Brazil is still, even when Brazil was the sixth biggest economy in the world, it was still one of the 10 most unequal places in the world as well. So it's very sad to see that we people consider Brazil a superpower that can be like leading the world in so many ways in renewable energy, in biodiversity, in environmentalist protection as well. But the problem is that right here, agribusiness still destroy everything. For example, the matrix of carbon emissions in Brazil is not the same as three-fourths from transportation and energy sector. In Brazil, three-fourths of the global emission of the carbon emissions come from agribusiness, from deforesting, from burning the forest, and from using artificial like insumes in production for agribusiness. So it's hydrogen oxides for agribusiness, for fertilizers, and so it's very tough to live where we live. There's still so many violations, but Lula is someone much better than Bolsonaro, but still has his limits. So, for example, Lula made a very good speech, and it was very important that he said, "This is a genocide going on." And he said, "It's a war against women and children, so we cannot really call a war, it's a genocide." And he's been saying that for 2 years, and he's been very persecuted by the Zionists. But the problem is, because of the correlation of strengths, Brazil didn't even break relations with Israel. So we still have military contracts, we still have spyware softwares, we still have drone maintenance, drone purchasing. We still, the spyware softwares, they are used to spy against us here. So we still have a free trade agreement between Mercosur and Israel. And so it is very complicated that we need to not only be in words, because the words can convince, but it's the example that can really leads and rally people. So we need to go beyond the words. And to be honest, I learned in English the expression paying lip service, because I didn't know this expression by then. That is a lot of good people that say a lot of good things, but in the end, the materiality of life does not compare to what's being said. So yeah, we need to go further, and Brazil is a target of imperialism. You know, Frank, we have 1/7 of the potable drinkable water in liquid form in the world. We have the world biggest river, the Amazon River. We have the two biggest aquifers in the world. We have the biggest tropical forest in the world. 12% of world biodiversity of plants and animals are in Brazil. So it's definitely a target for imperialism. So we always say that the future of the Palestinian people is the future of all mankind, especially in the global south. Their weapons are just not turned to us directly right now. They do other types of hybrid wars, but eventually they will. So we need to do our best here. We need to connect the struggles, because we are all on the same boat. I used the boat expression before the Madeline, but now it makes even more sense. In the end, we're all on the same boat against the same system, against the same enemy, and we have the same destiny.
Hey, it's an amazing way to finish, and yeah, what's the genocide of Gaza has made clear is that the people we are fighting, who are a lot less than us, you know, the 1%, and we are the 99%, they are responsible for burning and genociding Gaza, but they are also the same people responsible for burning and destroying planet Earth. So this is now very clear, and it's about, I mean, at least, you know, the enemy is very clear, and it's like how we fight it. But hey, obrigado, Thiago, and enjoy Greece, and thanks for everything, Habibi. Thanks.
Thank you so much, my brothers, and a pleasure and an honor being with you. We are together.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome, my brother.